think there's too much noise. The problem these days is you'll go on Twitter, see someone doing well, and the problem here is going to be utapata pressure. People are looking too much at what other people are doing, what other people are accomplishing. My point is, shut down that noise. I actually took around 8 years to do my undergraduate degree because somewhere in between I just had to start doing a lot of work and contracts and balancing with school because I needed to make a living. I was broke. I was a broke campus boy. Oh my God. Yeah, any broke campus dude knows what I mean.
Martin, ulikuwa high school gani?
I don't think I've talked about this stuff. Yeah. Unfortunately, when you're just a broke young boy trying to build stuff, there's not a lot of people who listen to you. So from there, once you hit that point, that's when you're really like, so why am I not making money?
Martin.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good.
They say cut guys are red flags. I'm gonna start there. Do you agree?
That is propaganda created by dog people.
Okay.
But regardless, I love both dogs and cats.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the first and most important context to bring is you are just a kid from KU who at some point has worked in one of the biggest companies like GitHub. So today we really want to understand how that has been for the other kid in KU who's watching this.
That's a deep question, honestly, because of course you can imagine. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's surreal. Sometimes it's, you try to make the relation between the kid who was doing so much, just living the best, and this crazy world of tech we're caught up in now. I would say the sentiment is that I feel proud and that that kid in KU will be happy to see, the kinds of things that I'm working on these days, because I would say I was just always a geek and building cool stuff was always my thing. So I think I'll still be building cool stuff even in the next few years. Yeah, I'm enjoying that.
Wow, okay. So let us just start from the very beginning, because I feel like we understand someone a bit better when we know about how it all started. So how was your childhood?
I was just that kid who you never gave your phone to. I would change all the settings, play all the games, just figure out, just tinker with anything I could find. Yeah, so I was naturally a very curious kid, very withdrawn from the world and reality. I think I was living in my own world, but I enjoyed, the things I was doing. So I can see, some of the traits I have going all the way back in terms of the curiosity and love for tech, and yeah, just who I am.
Okay, interesting. So it started, the dots were already forming back then.
Yes. If I'm being straightforward, this was really the only path for me. By the time I was finishing secondary school, I'd already started playing around with whatever level of tech I could find in terms of websites.
In the book Outliers, they talk about how your upbringing plays a huge role to your success. I'm really trying to picture how it was. Were you, what would you say you grew up well off, where you were exposed to computers, where you got access to things that exposed you into this?
So I would say I had what I need. My parents provided what I needed, but I will never say I was privileged. And well, but privilege is a point. It's a perspective.
Yeah.
So well off. Let me use the word well off. No, we weren't well off, and I actually took around 8 years to do my undergraduate degree because somewhere in between I just had to start doing a lot of work and contracts and balancing with school because I needed to make a living. I needed to get some skills out there. So no, outliers, I understand what you're saying, but I would say I don't think I've benefited much from that kind of advantage. It is more of a struggle through and choosing what you want through and through because I mean, I will say right now there's a lot of hope and hype when it comes to tech. When we were doing it, there was none of that. I don't think any of us could have envisioned, where tech is right now in Kenya at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm still with you in high school. You've kind of gotten a feel of what computers are and you're in Form 4 now. You need to pick a career. Was it clear to you, I'm going to do this career?
Absolutely. I'm not going to go too much into it, but there was a time I was failing almost everything in high school, but the one subject I always passed was computer, regardless. Yes, as I said, I won't go deep into it, but yeah, there was a time I would fail everything, probably get bad grades in pretty much anything else, but when it comes to computers, I would ace everything. So again, it was always such a straightforward choice for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Martin, ulikuwa high school gani?
Tuseme imefungwa. If I lost my KCSE certificate, I'd have to go to get it at the Ministry of Education. But I did a stint at, let me mention, Machakos Boys and Dagoretti at some point.
Really?
Yeah, Dagoretti High.
Very interesting.
But as I say, it's a stint. It was almost like contract mwaka moja contract.
And why did you leave those two schools?
I mentioned earlier I was always withdrawn and quite different. Public schools don't treat such people very well, honestly. Yeah.
I see. Now we have decided we want computers. We're going to uni. So you're called to KU, or take us through that journey.
I remember my entry into campus. The most interesting thing was that my dad wanted me to do geomatic and geospatial engineering at JKUAT. I got an offer to do that there, and I got computer science in KU. Despite the word engineering at the end of this other course, I chose computer science.
Hard. That's a hard choice.
It wasn't really a hard choice, really. I don't know. I was just always stubborn with what I liked. So,
interesting.
Yeah, I really didn't have any choice to be so anything that would make me be so stubborn. No hint of the future, nothing. I just wanted computer science. Why? Because I know that's where software engineering, stems from and all that. It was just a bunch of research I did when I was young. Somehow I landed on the right thing I wanted, yeah.
Okay. So take us through your time at KU.
Whoa.
Maybe you can just take us through that journey.
I pretty much breezed through computer science, except for the mathematics modules, my God. But yeah, I adjusted quite quick, but somewhere along the way, I would say I realized I needed more experience. Any person who's going into campus right now is going to tell you for computer science, a young, geeky, nerdy person going into computer science, unless they have a relative who does web or something, they'll tell you they want to go into computer science to do what? To learn how to code games. There was a lot of us, but if you know the curriculum here, it won't take you a semester to realize you know, that's not really what campus is about. You're there to get the fundamentals of computer science and all that. So while I was doing this, I also started upskilling. So I was doing PHP websites for people here and there, Java apps here, there. Hiyo maisha ni ngumu. My biggest motivation, I was broke. I was a broke campus boy. Oh my God. Yeah, any broke campus dude knows what I mean. Yeah. So it's not good. And as a guy, you just wake up and start doing something about it, honestly.
So at this point, you're like paying your own rent, you're self-reliant.
That's hard. I would say I was getting help.
Okay.
I was doing what I can for me, and my folks were doing what they could for me as well. Yeah.
Okay. So how important, because I've realized you are ulikuwa unajituma, like learning all these different languages. Most people just breeze through campus.
Yeah.
How important is this love, this passion, this almost calling for a young techie? How important is it to have, to be able to kind of go the mile? Or is the basic just, I'm trying to get more money? How important is love for what you're doing, in your opinion?
I've seen that discussion a lot of times. I'm just going to be very straightforward and say this is my personal opinion. I think that passion is everything. It is absolutely everything. Athletes, you know, one of my good friends was having this discussion. Ronaldo, Messi are some of the best footballers, but they have to put in more work than everyone else in terms of fitness, breaking boundaries. You're the greatest. People are still, you know, speculating you're the greatest, but you still need to win. So at that point when you have everything, you've achieved all the glory. And personally, again, if you're going with that approach, you know, because you're trying to make some more money, you will hit your limit soon enough. I personally think so. I mean, I'm growing, so I'll find out. But yeah, for now, that's what I think.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. So you started doing projects. Are you earning anything small during this time where you're building some cool stuff?
Yeah, we're earning small money, you know. Doing things like blowing computers for computer maintenance, you know, in offices, or installing Windows just to get money. My partner and I registered a company in 2015. And I think that's where we really started the entrepreneurship journey properly from there. I was getting a little money here and there, nothing solid, but I would say it was a lot of years of, you know, uncompensated work. But groundwork is always like that. You have to do your groundwork before anything really works out.
Do you remember the first amount of money you got for building something cool?
That goes way back, probably to my first year. I built some invoicing system with Java, NetBeans, whoever remembers that. And if I remember well, I got paid 15,000 to implement a system that you could just type, enters into a database, and you could retrieve that record and print it into like those small receipt printers. So I think that was just 15,000. I was in my first year. After campus, immediately I joined a company called CNET. We were selling internet literally to people who didn't have access to Safaricom and Zuku Fiber. And I wish I had a lot of time to talk about that, but that was a very good experience. I built and scaled a network that was serving over, I think, 300 people by the time I was leaving at its peak. And I did that for around 2 years. So somewhere in 2017, with the same partner that we had we had registered the company in 2015, we were thinking, so now we've been doing websites, we've done websites, that's how we've been making our money, and clearly, of course, this is not sustainable. As you grow, you need more. So how are we going to make more money? And at that point, I had a very specific interest in software as a service, products. So I sat this guy down and we decided to make something. And it was either going to be some HR payroll software, can't remember the other one, or now a site that makes websites for you, e-commerce websites. Now this idea had come up because we just made an e-commerce website for someone else. That was back then, 2017. And we show it to a few of our other family members and friends, and you hear, yo, we want this. By the time it was, well, we charged that lady 150,000. Who's gonna pay that at least here?
Yeah.
And at that time for us. So I realized there's a potential for this thing, and that's when I started, setting the foundation to build what will be K-Duka. An application that allows you to put in some, few fields, and at the end of the day, we are going to generate youngtechies.kduka.co.ke. You get a dashboard, add all your products, you can generate coupons, integrate Google Analytics, integrate with Sendy for delivery. It was amazing, honestly.
I'm also kind of mind blown because, especially given that time, right now you can see like we have a lot of that software, but then
I will dare say I've seen so many copies since then, and yeah, Kduka might still have better features than most of these e-commerce shop generators out here. I mean, they might have better integrations and all, but we'd really thought through that thing. And we built it just 2 people, and it was running itself. We never had to be on the computer to do anything. So that was really the foundation of me being a proper software engineer.
I really want to get the context of where you were at when you were doing Kduka. So where are you here? Are you back home? So you finished campus. Are you back home? Are you earning? Do you feel like, are you still struggling?
I was definitely struggling. I was in Kahawa, Wendani, in my bedsitter. The network, the internet, the ISP I'd built called Pay the Rent, maybe my utilities, water, electricity, but now food, clothes. What was swag back then? You don't have that. No, you don't know. There's nothing. So I had my basics sorted by that ISP. At least we were making enough money to have rent. And of course, I'm selling internet, so I have very fast internet. I have servers that run the whole thing in my bedsitter.
And this is, you're referring to CNET. Is it the CNET?
This is CNET.
Okay.
But now, around that time, CNET was giving me that sort of support in order as I was building this other thing.
Oh. So are you working full-time, part-time? What does this look like?
At that point, interesting to note, I'd never been employed. The last time I'd been employed was during my internship, which I did at Safaricom in 2014. So that's 2014 all the way to 2017. Never had a single official job. Still broke, but doing amazing stuff. So yeah, I was really struggling, and Kduka was my plan to get out of that situation, and I built it with everything I had.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna take you back many times, Martin, because I want to see you like in my head as well. So you mentioned you took 8 years to finish your degree. Uh, you're supposed to finish in around 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So 5 years pass. Are you in Wendani?
I'm still there.
Okay, still in Wendani. In all the 8 years, you are in Wendani?
Funny you should mention, that's the exact number of years I lived in Wendani.
Okay.
8 years.
8 years.
Since I left home to go to campus. I think I went back for maybe 1 or 2 holidays at most. Then started finding my way in the world, yeah.
So you were balancing school and with also CNET. Was this what you were working on, or what was it?
So by the time I was doing CNET, I had finished most of my modules because the last few years I was maybe doing 2 units per semester.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so I was almost done. So I spent my full time just building this network and then attend classes, maybe 6 hours a week.
And for someone who takes a while to graduate, did you have any feelings around this? Seeing your friends graduate, seeing people kind of almost progress. What were your feelings or thoughts around this?
That's the beauty of being young. At that point, I knew that was the time to try all that stuff. As I was getting closer to the 8 years, I stayed there. It became a bit depressing because now you want to see that growth. You've been working so hard, you're doing a lot, you're skilled, you're making the news, but you're not really living it. It's kind of a struggle. But my backup plan was always to get employed in corporate in case that company didn't work out. So I was just working on my skills every day.
Okay. So now we're building K-Duka. How long did it take for you to build K-Duka?
MVP, 6 months, 9 months to release a second version. And I think that's when really everything, we started getting a lot of users because the first one, the usability was so bad. It was so bad, the design. But you see, that's how I learned how to make a product, how users behave. You make them jump through hoops, they're just gonna leave that website.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm a techie, zero business acumen. I'd been doing CNET, yes, but I think when it comes to the internet, I had a partner who did the business, but this one, I'm literally CEO founder and all that. So, I mean, it took us 6 months for the MVP and then now 9 months to just get a proper product out. Yeah.
And hear your vision, because now a lot of entrepreneurs, they think, let's build a product, pitch to investors. Here, were you thinking in that mindset, or you were like, let's build something cool, let's get people using it? What was your end game with Kduka?
So unfortunately, I wasn't so exposed to a lot of things, but my end game with Kduka was really building at that point. Yeah, I did want to make some money off it.
Yeah.
But at that point, I would say I didn't build Kduka thinking I want to be a millionaire. After you put time into it for a while, you're like, yeah, this thing needs to make me a millionaire.
Yeah.
But at first, we were just exploring the path ahead, the world in front of us. Yeah. Because, I mean, who gets to be, I'm glad I got to build such a thing, and maybe it's just for the sake of coming too much and just appreciate the things you did back then. It's just about pushing yourself and doing things that make you happy.
Okay. And you started getting traction and you started getting featured. Take me through this entire, now you're thrown into the limelight.
Uh, well, at around that time, things were, coming through. I was getting a few good deals here and there with some private clients. So now, I start getting the exposure, and I would say at first all that changed was the attitude and the respect that you now gain. Because unfortunately, when you're just a broke young boy trying to build stuff, there's not a lot of people who listen to you until they see you're being featured or people are using your products. That's when people start taking your company seriously, your product seriously, or some of the people around you, they understand this is not just some games. Uh, that's how that changed for the most part. In terms of business, K-Duka never did much, but it was the ultimate really stepping stone for me. It was the ultimate stepping stone. Yeah.
You've made a very important point where people don't take, would you say, men seriously? Would you go as far as say men seriously until they start to almost make something of themselves?
It's generally everyone, but I can relate to the struggles of a male more. So
Okay,
yeah.
I see. And how does that affect your perception of people, especially now after you've, even surpassed your expectation? How does that affect how you perceive people?
It's the sad reality. That's the world. I can't say much. It's just the sad reality. There's good people, but then, now to be very clear, I had people who believed in me, people I met randomly at a talk I was giving or somewhere. I was telling them about my product and they supported me like brothers. But then again, I don't know. I think it's just an unfortunate part of the world that we can't change, and it is a result of the environment that we've grown up in. There are people who maybe get support, of course. A lot of people get support and, they are respected. Even right now, I meet any person who's doing any sort of startup or product. I will do my best to help them because I understand. But then it's not rare to find maybe someone like that has someone in their family who's telling them, "Una waste time, go get a job as a paycheck."
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what would you tell a young techie was just in the space where you were at, where you're starting to see, oh wow, people are respecting me more? How is there a way that you handled it? How did you handle that? Did you feel a bit of, wow, now is when you guys are
You have to feel that. You have to feel that. In fact, the most common sentiment is that people respect you when you don't need their respect.
wow.
That's sometimes one of the saddest realities. You might end up getting some of the respect when you don't need it.
So what would you tell them?
Be nice, be forgiving, but don't be a pushover. Understand people and why they act the way they do and what they want from you. That's a game you have to play all the way late into your life. I don't even know personally when it's ending.
Okay.
So, yeah, people are just tricky, and I think part of navigating the world is really understanding humans and human psychology. People, just how people are.
Yeah. I feel like you've gone through, you've lived very many lives, because building an entire company is a life on its own. There are people who build one their whole life.
Yeah.
So you've built K-Duka, you've gotten some recognition. I'm curious, how much money would you say you made during the K-Duka period?
So my partner and I agreed to never talk about that.
Really?
Yeah, we've been asked even in
Karinge, Bana Martin,
we didn't make much for sure. I can't tell you any of us ate good or went on a holiday because of K-Duka, but we slept good because we were satisfied and we done something. But in terms of the monetary value, I don't like to look at K-Duka from that angle.
I see. So, still in your bedsit, Kduka's gotten traction. What next? Like, what was the tipping point? Like what next after that?
K-Duka failed. So, e-commerce has its challenges. I did so much to try and get that company running. We weren't making sales as we should. We were talking to our clients as much as we could, trying to see what's wrong with our business model. Why aren't people paying? Because at some point we got somewhere and we decided we are scraping off free plans. We'll be giving people 1 week trial, and then there's like a basic plan for 200 and then something. So from there, once you hit that point, that's when you're really like, so why am I not making money? I mean, ideally, right now I wouldn't get to that point to start asking that question. Not now, but back then, that was the process. So I even ended up at the National E-Commerce Roadmap Committee trying to present a whole system on how we could enhance trust, security, and even, those kinds. There were several factors we had discovered in our own research that were affecting e-commerce, and it's a combination of the private and public aspects. So private, there's what we could do, and then there's public, the laws, the regulations. So we went all the way to that level. If I'm not wrong, I think all that was scrapped when Big Four agenda started. So all our contacts there and it just all went downhill, and now you realize you can't do anything as an e-commerce product on your own. The government has to participate. And as evidence, I will ask you to go and research which profitable e-commerce companies you know in Kenya that since back then. Well, I don't want to speak. It's been a while since I checked, so I won't speak without facts.
Okay.
But e-commerce was clearly failing in Kenya, and I wasn't going to keep doing this. It was becoming bad. I mean, how am I working every day? How do I have a company? How am I in this situation, but then we're not making any money? And entrepreneurship, as you know it, even when you're making other money other places, deals take forever to come. So I found myself in a very bad situation despite being in a company that was known and that was functional. And that's towards the end of the 8 years, and it's bad. Like at that point, you're aging a bit more. It's no longer all fun and games and building. You need to start making a living now. Not that I wasn't in the first place, but it has to start paying off. And I remember I got covered by some local newspaper, and I caught the eye of a recruiter. That was an Andela recruiter back then. I loved my company. It was all I knew. I mean, it was all I was dreaming of, just selling that thing and just getting a better life. And it was very hard to let go of it, especially after you've built it for 2 years painstakingly like that. You've done so many things. You've registered it. It was a fully functional software company, and you don't want to leave it, but things are not working out. So weirdly, coincidentally, I just decided, I had a few Andela friends, and I just wanted to see if I could beat the interview. But when I beat the interview and the offer came through, I saw a different world. I had to ask myself some questions like, if they can pay me this much as a software engineer, what is the business? What business are these people in? What industry are these people in? These clients, you know? What are these avenues? And at that point, I just decided there's something I need to learn. I've done everything I can with K-Duka. And I left Kduka and started working for corporate.
How old are you at this point?
I was 27.
Wow. That's not too far back.
Yeah, it wasn't too far back. It's been crazy since that point, yeah.
So, like normally people leave uni at like 22. So all that time, by the time you're 27, you have other friends who are in corporate doing really well.
My God.
So how was that? Like,
At that point, I think I had isolated. I was focused on my own things and my own world. I think I was looking towards a bigger picture. I don't think there were a lot of people back then, other than maybe a couple of devs, who were in positions I will be jealous of, because I was never down for that life in the first place. That's why I had avoided all these employment opportunities in the first place. There was nothing worth me working for that. Like, I understand employment. I'd done it before, and at that point, it wasn't worth it.
so at 27, you've already built a company. What would you say?
Two companies.
Two companies. God damn. Two companies. What would you say was the most difficult part up until 27? Because that's your first life.
True. It was around that 27 when you need to see that growth as a grown up.
Yeah.
You're now into your late 20s. You're skilled. You're skilled. You're doing something meaningful. But unfortunately, the world doesn't know that. They only know what they see.
Yeah.
And I would say it was becoming quite bad in terms of I needed the change. When you live somewhere for 8 years from when you're a young campus person and now you're a grown up and you're trying to live life, and you need to see that change. Now, mind you, up to that point, I'd never had any money of my own, and whatever I'd ever made was maybe for food and, of course, money that comes and goes.
Yes.
So I'd never understood what it was like to be stable to that point, to be a stable guy. So you need to see a change at that point, and it gets desperate. And that's why you hear, sometimes you have to keep going even when things are hard.
Did you have any support at that point?
Not too much, honestly. Yeah.
Okay.
I won't say I had people, but there's only so much people can do.
Yeah.
Unaweza kuwa na rafiki yako na nyote mnateseka.
Okay. So now this big lucky break. I'm avoiding the word luck because I saw a tweet. I saw your tweet on luck, which is very interesting because a lot of the guests I've interviewed, the books I've read, do say that luck plays a very an element in progressing you forward.
Yes.
I'd like to get your thoughts on that because you're...
So, I don't know where I read this, but I agree with it and have internalized it. Luck is what is left to be done after you've done 100% of what you can do. That's that little aspect that's needed for luck. You can prepare your whole life for an opportunity, but unless you're in the right place with the right person, having the right conversation, all that preparation will have been for nothing sometimes. And that's why you need to be out there trying to chase your mission, because those opportunities won't come to your house.
So what I'm hearing is luck has got something to do with you putting yourself out there?
There we go. I will agree with that, yes.
Interesting.
Putting myself out there, letting people know who I am. I've always identified as this techie, even back in high school, back in campus, and that's how people know me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the recruiter reaches out to you, gives you this mind-blowing figure. Do you want to share? Care to share?
No.
It's a safe space.
No, it's
but we
not.
also respect boundaries. It's not a safe space.
My God.
Arrange.
Your black taxi tapanda stack. The black taxi will go up. But
Hey, Martin, kopa unakonga na pesa.
it was good. How can I say it?
Arrange. Guys, we'll try our best to get ranges out of our guests, but we also respect. Also, don't if you're not comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me not disclose that here.
You'll tell us after.
I can tell you, but not the internet.
Not the internet.
People will do math. They'll be like, if that was 2019. No.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it. So you get this really, really good number, and you take the offer. So is this GitHub?
So I went into Andela first for maybe a few months.
Okay.
I did a project, an internal project. Then now I interviewed for GitHub, still within their systems, and I got the role for one of the projects they were doing inside in the trust and community system. So one of the features I think I've ever tweeted it out, but that's how I got into GitHub. Yeah.
No, well, I've watched actors receive Oscars, and they say it was a bit disappointing because you're not any different like before and after the Oscar. It's something you've wanted for so long, but it's like, oh, this is it. So you moving from the Kahawa Wendani K-Duka guy to suddenly you're earning crazy figures. Did you feel that change? What did you take us through where your head was at?
Yeah, you have to go crazy for a bit. I think it's a necessity. Even the guys I mentor, the young guys I work with, anytime they come across a good deal, I just tell them, yeah, it's okay, be crazy for a bit. You have to be. That's how you get used to reality now.
What does being crazy mean?
Live for a bit, and basically I tell them to ensure that they enjoy whatever it is they are running. Because I think ultimately it helps you understand what you are and not, what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. There's a salary you could give someone right now, maybe who's not working, or they're getting a small salary, and you'll give them, they'll think you've solved all their problems until it's maybe 2-3 months later, and they realize, like, I need more. And that goes on for so much. Like, it goes on for levels. You never get there, really. So my point is, I tell these guys to understand the power of what their money can do. What you want to do, if it's the things you enjoy, find a way to do them. find a way to do the things you enjoy plus the important things. Like, I would say it's a balance, because if you put all this money in the bank and something happens to you tomorrow, what's the point, you know? So as someone who went through a kind of a hard period in life, I believe in really trying to enjoy what you have as you're planning for the future.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the meat of now your life has changed, I want you to speak to a Martin, a younger Martin, who's also who is in a similar situation as you are in. They're probably building their company. They have a part-time job. They're just in that space that you are in at 27. What would you, three fundamental things that you'd want them to let this be your compass based on your own experience?
What I would tell that person, that Martin, is keep pushing. In terms of building, keep pushing. None of this effort, none of the groundwork you do, all those meetings I had that never paid anything, all that time I spent coding a product that never brought me any real money, all those things, you keep pushing. As long as you're going, you will never really stagnate, you know. Now, there's a twist to this of keep pushing. You have to keep pushing the right direction. Not only in the right, and how do you find the right direction? It is by analyzing your results of what you've just been doing. Is it working? Is it not working? What can you do better? What other insights have you found? So you have to be also very proactive in how you're moving. You have to decide your next steps based on information, you know. Don't just blindly follow a path. If you do that, it is an assurance, at least from where I stand, that you will get somewhere, because you have an idea, you're building something, you have to start. You build it first, get it running. Then from there, learn why is this not working? What lessons will you learn from there? From there, gather that, understand what was happening there, make a better next move. And that's how you will keep improving, because you have a formula, you have a pattern of growth. Yeah. So that's what I would tell them. Keep pushing in the right direction, and always analyze your previous steps before you make your next step. I live by that to this day. Yeah.
Okay. Martin, if you didn't get that recruiters, if they didn't reach out to you, when do you think you'd have said, okay, I think we can bury this?
I don't know. I don't know, but I don't think I would have lasted much longer, honestly. Yeah. When you're really hell-bent on building something and you want it to work and you've spent that much time, letting it go is never really in the picture. But I will say there was a price I was willing to abandon, my company for, if someone paid it, and I will say I got it. Yeah, because if it's not working, you can't. I wouldn't recommend you just analyze to the best that you can. Just try to do your best, figure out whether it's gonna work or not. Try to analyze it and make an informed decision. There is nothing sure. You have to make informed decisions. That's just the key thing here. Yeah.
Okay. So now we enter your second life. GitHub, Andela, Bravely. At what point did you think, okay, I'm interested in blockchain? Take us through that transition from where you're building cool stuff with Ruby on Rails, and now you're like, this blockchain thing.
2020, I met a friend from a while back. Used to be a childhood friend. And the guy had been building, trading systems. And right now he was working with crypto systems for some client in Singapore or something. And at that point, of course, I was going to be curious, what is all this stuff? And as I kept, no, this wasn't even the first time I'd actually checked out blockchain. I had, but it's very hard to get into blockchain. Anyone who's tried will tell you, like, you'll try a few, examples, a few tutorials, and you'll be like, yo, sorry. Especially if you don't know what you're doing. So I'd tried it, but now this time I got a friend. And I bought my first crypto. I think I bought like 5K worth of crypto. And that was just to observe. And within time, you start noticing the volatility and how the crypto market is different, the factors that influence it, the technology. And at this point, I was already way beyond the Bitcoin, Ethereum coins, the coin aspect of it. Now I was already curious about what's happening, underneath the hood. So I had a decision to make. I knew I was not gonna do Ruby for long. I had already figured that out. I was looking for what I was going to do next. And it was either going to be blockchain, AI, can't remember the other one. Oh yeah, and okay, so Ruby was in the picture, but so now it was either I was going to get really good at Ruby, maybe start contributing to the open source project itself, and maybe a few others, do blockchain or do AI. I had those three parts ahead of me. I got an amazing opportunity with Ruby on Rails. It was an opportunity in the Netherlands, relocation, amazing salary, working with some of the best people in the world. I think they're called Akensi. And after 5 interviews in a span of 3 weeks or 3 weeks or so, I waited for an offer for like 2 weeks. So that's why I saw somebody tweet that the EMEA is the A is silent at the end. I didn't get the offer because they were wondering why were they relocating me, And at that point I was done. Done.
Ruby.
Yeah. I decided blockchain is the way to go, so I started technically ramping up on blockchain. Working on projects with my friend. Now, all this time I was still doing my Ruby jobs.
So this is at Bravely or GitHub?
No, this was way post GitHub. I think I was in Bravely at the time.
Okay.
Definitely, yeah. So that's when I started doing my own projects on the side with blockchain and all that. And within time, I was starting to become quite good. I landed my first blockchain role in a company called ThirdWeb. That was in 2022. And that was my first real taste of the blockchain world. ThirdWeb is an amazing company, very brilliant people. They build tools that are used by the biggest companies for Web3. And being in that environment, getting to see all these things, firsthand work with these people. Now being someone who was just transitioning into this field and somehow I'm with the best in the world. Yeah, it was amazing. I got to really understand what blockchain was about. So. Yeah.
By any chance, is ThirdWeb Stephen Bartlett's company?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing people, for sure.
Yeah.
So, 2 things. You're right in saying that blockchain is a bit hard to understand. And I always say, if you can explain it to a 5-year-old, you really have understood it. Now, for our viewers, if you were to just, it's like you're talking to a 5-year-old or like mse wanduthi akikuuliza blockchain ni nini? Utamwambia.
Blockchain, I would say, is I would say blockchain is a ledger, okay? A ledger is basically a book where you write transactions. This money came in, this money went out, this did this, all these transactions, okay? And then this one page, you can say that's a block.
Okay.
And then this other page has all these records, that's another block.
Okay.
And the other page, the same thing. And then all these pages are linked.
Okay.
This one is linked to the one before it, and that way. Okay. So you can't get this one, this page, you can't get it without the previous page. And now this book, you cannot burn it, you cannot edit it, and you cannot hide it from people. Everyone can come see it, but nobody can burn it, nobody can edit it, no one can do anything about it.
Okay.
That is, in its essence, blockchain. It is just records on the chain that you can never change, and they're arranged in blocks.
Blockchain.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Understood. All right. So it's clear how you got your role at Andela. How did you then get your role at Third Web, especially being new in the field?
I applied.
Really?
I literally saw, hey, we're looking for this, drop an email. And I dropped an email saying why I will be interested to work with them. I did the whole interview process, and yeah.
And what did you have to show? Like because you're new, were you already working on like projects, blockchain projects? Or?
Yes, I was already working on quite a number of things. Nothing serious at the time, but it was enough to show my passion. And again, when you find a company like that, they don't really hire you for things you know. Yes, you might have some bit of expertise, but everything you're doing will pretty much be new or cutting edge.
Yeah.
So they just need people who have the skills to get things done.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you get the role. Why do you leave? You.
So at the end of it all, blockchain is really broad. There's Web3s, there's NFTs, there's decentralized finance. I am interested in the finance aspect. Third Web is a Web3. They help build games, NFTs, deploy tokens.
Okay.
They do deep blockchain stuff, but it wasn't really within the stuff I was interested in. So, and then I ended up still chasing what I wanted, which was DeFi at the end of it all, yeah.
Decentralized finance.
Yes.
Okay. We'll just write like an explanation of what that is.
So, yeah, the easiest way to say this is that it's just a system of finance, just like, Wall Street, NSE and all that, well, away from the stocks. But now it's on chain and it's governed by protocols. It's a whole different Wall Street on the chain with its own ways of working. So that's decentralized finance.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just no central authorities like the banks or all these people. Sometimes all you need is a wallet and you can participate in whatever transactions on chain. Yeah.
Okay. So you left, you're interested in DeFi, you moved to Hotel Engine, correct?
Yes. Okay. So that was me getting myself, back into a space where I understood what I wanted. Now, Third Web was a bit of a, it was a crazy experience, and at the end of it all, I just left understanding where I was in terms of blockchain and what I wanted. But then again, I'm out here, I'm unemployed, and I'm still not employable by blockchain, At least from what I've just seen, I'm not really at a place where I can look for the kinds of jobs I want, because it's different. Ruby on Rails, I'm already here. I have experience, I have what. Getting the jobs for here is okay, but now blockchain, I'm here, You get my point?
I get
So
your point.
I've just tested this and I've understood, okay, this is not it. I
Yeah.
need to do something else and go towards the field I like more. And I'm not going to get a job while I'm here for that, yet I'm used to this. So I have to make a living. I go to Hotel Engine, take a quick Ruby on Rails contract. I'm going to do this. But what I'm doing in the background is some heavy, upskilling, some serious upskilling when it comes to blockchain. I'd already been used to doing, I'd already been doing 2 jobs for some time. So at that point, Hotel Engine and just doing blockchain was easy for me. And yeah, that's...
You mentioned in a conversation outside where you took a 40% pay cut. Was this on Third Web or?
Yes.
And it was clear that it's because of my passion.
It was clear it's because I want to do blockchain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was when I was living bravely. I had like a couple of contracts back then.
Okay.
I left both to go do Third Web. Yeah, took a serious pay cut.
Would you advise younger Martin? What would you advise younger Martin around that?
I don't know yet. It was, I honestly don't know. I will say it paid off, but I'm the one who paid the price, so I can't enjoy the fruits without acknowledging the effort or the suffering it took. But I do believe at this point that was a very good decision, 100%. Yeah, I will. When you want to learn something, it is important you take the appropriate steps to just put yourself in a place where you can grow in it. I was never going to grow while, doing whatever I was doing because I had already decided this is my path. Now, suppose I decided to stay with this contract, how many more years will I have done it? While still doing blockchain
On the
naguza.
side.
Yeah, I'd hate to be those guys who say I do blockchain, but all they know is Hello World in Solidity.
Oops.
So you have to
Okay.
put in the work if you want to be a professional at it, and if it means sacrificing this pay to get this skill, you do it.
Okay. Now we are at Hotel Engine, and you've mentioned you are really good at Ruby and Rails. At what point was this skill built? Was it when you were in school or K-Duka? When was this developed?
I learned Ruby on Rails when I was building Kduka. I learned it specifically to build Kduka.
Interesting. After Hotel Engine, when was the epiphany to say, okay, I think I need to take a pause?
So let me explain this. Human nature is interesting. You're not really going to throw yourself in a position where you're going to be struggling.
Okay.
But I'm doing Hotel Engine. January, they slash your salary by what? I think that was 25%. Because of the recessions, right? And in June, you're on a call with the VP, hey, we've decided to restructure, the economy is bad. It was happening all over at that time, FB, Microsoft. And for some reason, I feel relief when I'm told my contract is being terminated. Because now I decide I'm doing blockchain fully. I'd already met the right people. I'd already made the right moves. I'd already found the right thing I wanted to do. The time was more than ripe to get it done. So when that contract was terminated, I didn't look back. I just went full time into blockchain.
Wow, I kind of resonate with that relief of losing something, and you're like, okay, now it's very clear what I need to do.
Yeah, if you were doubting it in the first place.
Yeah.
I knew I was never going to do much with blockchain if I was doing other things. You have to go all in. Yeah.
What has that been like?
My God. it's a real. So for the last 10 months or so, I'd been doing full-time blockchain. And I had objectives when I was going into it. I would say right now I am a blockchain engineer. I have done what I needed to do. And it's been evident in all the work I've been doing and all the people I've interacted with. And this is now my thing.
Okay. What do you see? Like, how does the future look like for you? What do you see, for your future? What do you envision?
The world. I envision all the possibilities that could happen going from here. I would say that whole journey has led me to this point because I'm pretty fresh off that development break, that professional break. And I feel like I've achieved what I needed to achieve. And going forward is now a matter of how I apply whatever it is that I've learned. It is a matter of always, again, as always, as like I've been doing, just chasing whatever makes me happy, building the things that I think are fun, making an impact, and just most of all, seeing whether we can get to the very forefront of this tech, because we are chasing, it's growing every day. So let's see whether we can get to a point whereby we are the ones pushing this tech forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, one of the final questions. You resonated with the fact that we highlight challenges with techies. Ever since you got your contract with Andela, up until today, what would you pinpoint as your most challenging moment?
The last 1 year. I intentionally stayed out of employment to make sure I focused on the right things. It's not an easy path, especially at this stage, to sacrifice everything, just to get this new other thing that you like. And it really pushed me to levels where I say only passion could have taken me through. Sometimes it's a matter of how bad do you really want it? How bad do you really want it? So the last 1 year, adjusting to everything, since I got that contract to the point I stopped working, adjusting into this new phase of life, these new things. As a person, you're working mad hours. You're probably doing like 50 hours a week plus. You have no schedule, all just to make sure you understand these concepts and you get them down and you build your project. So the last year has been the most intense, chasing the skills that I wanted. Yeah.
I have to say, it's very rare to see developers who are very technical also simultaneously have that like obsession that entrepreneurs have, where, I need to get this, So it's pretty interesting to see. You've taken us through your career very well up until today. If you were to just give younger Martin like one piece of like a one-liner you live by or something that would take him through where he is, what would that be?
Live your passion. Live your passion. That's specifically to me.
To Martin, younger
To
Martin.
Martin,
Okay.
yes. There's also maybe one thing I'd like to add.
Okay.
This has been in my head for a while, given the community, the tech community in Kenya, and how things have been like.
Yeah.
So for the young techies, I don't know what it will be like to be a young techie right now, but I think it will be too hectic. Reason being, I think there's too much noise. And from my story, I've said I was very isolated, focusing on my own things. The problem these days is you'll go on Twitter and see someone doing well. And the problem here is going to be utapata pressure. A good example, recently I met a guy who's more than 10 years younger than me in tech. And he was telling me nampiga pressure within blockchain, you know, we were talking about technical stuff.
Okay.
And I was telling this guy, I am literally more than a decade older than you. Nakupiga pressure aje, you know? There is this perspective that has come out. There's too much noise that is in the field. People are looking too much at what other people are doing, what other people are accomplishing. Someone else is telling me, we graduated 2 years ago and my classmate is a tech lead elsewhere. Hiyo ni uongo. That's a lie. You know? My point is, shut down that noise. The one differentiating factor I know for sure is that I didn't have to deal with all that when I was just getting my skill up. I had time to focus and think. But if you want to maybe do ego wars and just want it all within 2-3 years, that's a joke, you know? So I will just say, young techies, shut down the noise. Focus on what it is that you want, what is your passion, what skill is it that you want, and get it done. Leave the other world alone. You don't know what that other person on Twitter has been doing for a decade. You don't know where this person who is a tech lead in 1 year or 2 years, what the reality is. All these things are getting to your head when you're looking at all these things online. But in reality, all you have to do, you have time, is sit down, focus, tune out the noise. That's all. I feel like that's something important I've been wanting to say for a while. Focus on your skill and your goals. Leave all that other stuff out. 5 years making noise on Twitter and 5 years working, you will end up two very different places. Leave that other person, your former classmates, leave this other person. What do you want to do in tech? What are you trying to accomplish? That's what you should figure out and work towards it. Otherwise, you'll be derailed by any other person who seems to be doing slightly better than you.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you as well.
Thank you so much. I feel like we need a good closing ritual or something.